Hi everyone. Today I'd like to share with you a story, and I'm pretty sure it's going to surprise you. So I used to work on a multi-million euros project with several development teams, and while I was talking with the developers 2 months after the launch of this project, I realized that none of them knew the customer's expectation or who they were. So there was a moment of silence in my brain, and I wondered, how is this even possible? How could you wake up in the morning not knowing why you're doing this or for whom? So I figured like maybe other people knew exactly what was happening or were experiencing the same. So I went to see my colleagues and asked them, did you notice this on your own project? And they told me that, yeah, most of the time, when you work with your development team, sometimes they don't even know why they're doing this and for whom. So maybe you are experiencing this, and maybe you're just as surprised as me right now. But honestly, in this video, I would like you to understand that there's a solution to fight this. So it's called persona. I know it sounds a bit fishy, but believe me, it is a serious item belonging to the design thinking methodology. And by the way, I did another video on this matter, so if interested, I put a link to this video in the description. So in this video, we'll see what is a persona, why do we use this, and why is this so massively used in companies currently, and so how do you define a persona? Because I want you to be able to use the same solution if you are experiencing the same problem. Okay, so let's see this. So a persona is a fictitious person. That person does not exist, but it is built from data that you collected by talking to real people, representing a group of needs and behaviors. So it is derived from research on the end users of your product or service. So the goal is to use those so as to enhance your existing design and user experience. Here is an example with Michael. So Michael Smith is a married man with one son. He lives in Chicago, Illinois, in the US. And this is an example of templates representing all the different information you should have gathered to represent this persona. So you have the objectives, the statistics, the behaviors and habits of Michael, the technology and skills, so that means his level regarding the usage of electronic devices, and his relationships. So all those information are gathered from real interviews, as I told you. So let's start with the technology and skills item, for instance. So Michael used several types of devices. He's got a Windows-based laptop for work and an old MacBook and iPhone for personal use. The family shares an iPad too, because he always had a busy schedule. So I'm not going to go till the end. I think you got pretty much the intention here. So all those information describe who Michael really is. And those information will be put to use during all your meetings every time you want to enhance or build a new user experience to know if you are doing this to answer Michael's expectation. Are you getting worried about what he's really interested in? That's the main purpose of using a persona. So why do we use a persona? A persona is a tool to keep an empathetic mindset rather than designing something a certain way just because one of your teammates just wants this, or because you're building something to please yourself. I mean, who didn't do this once at least? So suppose you want to design something and develop something that is really appealing to the real users, that reflects their priorities. In that case, you need to observe and talk to their representative users directly in their environment and their context. You are less likely to make wrong assumptions based on subjective experiences. And every time you make assumptions about your users, you run the risk of being wrong. As simple as this. Dale Carnegie used to say, this great American author, he used to say that you will make more friends in 2 months by taking care and sincere interest in others that you could win other 2 years by trying to get others to take an interest in you. So if you want to make your design relevant for your target users, you need to use personae. You need to learn about the aspects of their habits, behaviors, and environments that needs to be appropriate for your work. And you need to leverage those observations. This, and only this, will allow you to design with more confidence and less guesswork. Stop that! So how do you define a persona? A persona is the result of a user research. So it's a study on your end users through direct interviews mainly. So you might think that the formula is simple, right? But let's say you want to design something that you would want to eventually sell, and of course that people will use. So for that, you need to understand what people want. So what can you do? Well, you can go to see people and ask them what do they want. Once you get that information, you just design it. Simple. But let me tell you, it's not as easy as it is. And unfortunately, that technique just doesn't work. Because do you know what people really want? People want to be loved. So when you ask someone directly what they want, they're likely to give you the answer that they think you want to hear, or the solution that best fits the image they want to project of themselves on you. And since you can't always want something you can't even imagine, well, then the scope of your ideas may be quite limited by your own imagination. So instead, you'll have to find a way to get into their brains. So for example, you may have been asked during a job interview, this awful question that we hate, it's what's your biggest flaw? Okay? So most of the time people have a pre-made solution for that, a pre-made answers. Instead, you could turn around the question to get the information you really need. Tell me more about a typical day at your current job. Or tell me about a misunderstanding you had with your colleague. Or tell me an example of problems that you had to deal with at work. You will then have the space to express information about your true self. And that's what we are after. That's how you build persona. And how many persona are needed? Let me tell you. As little as possible. In fact, if you have too many, you can try to merge some of your persona to try to reduce the number of the persona, because the more you have, the more complex it will be for you to work. So if you develop with care your persona, they can be the most valuable and lasting user research product. They are in fact an essential tool for user-centered design and highly effective. So, and when your persona are working, if they become the first person you think of when you consider a new ideas for your design. You'll be thinking, what is Michael thinking about this new design? Would it be easy for him to use it or not? And in fact, you'll be using this persona so much during your own meetings that they become real famous. I can assure you this. So as usual, if you find this video useful, please leave the thumbs up and a comment. It really helps me to produce even more content for you guys. And we'll see you in the next video.